Yo, what's up guys, new video talking about the top 5 best net 5s to get as either a beginner player or a mid-game player. These are just my opinion, so feel free to put it in the description if you completely disagree with this whole list or anything. But this is what I would recommend newer players or mid-game players to have as like top 5 of most wanted net 5s. These are not including LD net 5s because they are, I guess, a bit too rare. We have this event going on right now if you're watching it during the 8th anniversary. That we have this event that it's relatively easy to get a net 5. So based on this list, you can actually check like which kind of units would be interesting from there. I already pulled mine. I got a Joe which was actually one of the very few units that I was still missing. But that's not a unit I would recommend you guys to go for. So I will go over this list from 5 to number 1. And I will talk about where I would use them, how I would use them, how I would build them, and why I think they are that good for a beginner or a mid-game player. So number 5 might be one that is quite interesting for some people, but I actually think that this is one of the best units to get early game. You can use this in your Giants team, you can use this in TOA to make it a bunch safer. It's pretty much a free win in Siege offense, Guild War offense, but even if you have slow clears in Arena offense, into server battle, even if you're starting to go towards RTA, Woosa is just a very strong overall unit. It's also relatively easy to run. You could go Swift plus something broken to move as first always, or you just go via Will, and then you just have a lot of damage on this thing from just having a lot of HP, because this S2 actually scales from HP. This thing just scales from having HP. So it's just very simple. Go as much speed as possible, as high HP as possible. And this unit can be used in a lot of places. And that's why I rate this unit as the number 5 spot. Talking about the skills of Woosas, we have the S1 that can provide a sleep. It's not too interesting yet. The S2, which is a very good heal and does a lot of damage because it's ignore defense based on your own HP. And then the third skill, which creates a shield and immunity for 3 turns, which is also based on your own HP. So everything is based on your own HP. Number 4 spot, the unit that we cannot pronounce the name of within the game, but is actually a very good unit. Where is it? Charlotte. So Charlotte is a very strong overall unit for a begin game. It's a very good farmer. It can be used in your Giants B12 team. It is very good for your TOA runs. It can be used here and there for your offenses in Siege and defense, or Siege and Arena as well. Is a starter unit that's pretty decent for RTA as well, but I don't focus these units too much on RTA. But this is overall a very strong unit with a lot of possibilities, from going to 2UA, going to like all kinds of PvE dungeons, stages, where this unit is very valuable and therefore has the number 4. How I would build her is very simple on speed attack or speed crit damage attack, speed crit rate attack. Speed, some accuracy is very useful in there. If you're aiming for PvE stages, probably with like around 40% accuracy, you are fine. If you want to go for more like RTA kind of focus, I would say upwards of like 60, 70 accuracy. But you can do a lot of damage from your additional damage artifacts the moment you start farming a little bit for artifacts. You can do a lot of damage with additional damage by speed, additional damage by HP, and additional damage by attack. Probably mainly based on speed and attack, because her base attack is actually very high. Her third skill does a lot of pushbacks, and her second skill is also an AoE stun. First skill enables to cycle through like all of the skills, and therefore you have more chance of getting your third and your second skill up as well. So again, for room builds, I would say Vio Will is probably the best way to go. But if you have Vio plus some other offset, it is fine. If you go Swift plus some other offset, that is fine. Despair plus some other offset, that is perfectly fine. Even going like a Fatal set or just a crit damage set or anything like that makes it a bit more of a splash cannon, but it is still a viable set. Then the number 3 slot, which was mentioned as Chungus by Stoic, one of the SWC casters, but the name is Cheongpung. And Cheongpung has my number 3 slot because I think there are actually 2 better units than Cheongpung. Some people might say, no, Cheongpung is by far the best. Well, wait until you see the other 2 units, because I think they're a little bit more versatile than Cheongpung is. But Cheongpung is very, very strong. Cheongpung, very good unit again for arena offense, your first GB12 team, TOA, all kinds of PvE stages, and is also a very good unit to transition into RTA. First, good unit for RTA and that kind of stuff, but also Siege offense, Arena offense. Cheongpung has a lot of functionalities in there as well. So we have the S1, simple pushback. We have the S2, which is an AoE strip that also armor breaks, so there's a good versatility in that. However, it does not armor break before the strip, so there's first strip, then armor break. No, wait, the other way around. It's first armor break, then strip, so if you strip something, you can't armor break that. You can still glance at that time, though. But it just gives a lot of functionalities to be a stripper, and also his third, an AoE pushback and a cooldown. So this is one of the few units that's both a stripper, so stripper of debuffs, and a pushbacker, so a CC unit, which makes it very good in all of these places that I just mentioned before. But there are actually a few units that are still better than that. So the builds for Cheongpung are pretty similar to the builds of Charlotte. You could go Swift, you could go Despair, you could go Vio. Offsets kind of depending if you want to have will or not, or just do extra damage, or have a focus set for extra accuracy. The damage mainly comes from having multi-hit, so again, additional damage from speed, additional damage from attack is very useful. And try to aim for a high accuracy. So if you're using a PvE kind of style, I would aim like 35, 45-ish. If you're trying to use it towards more RTA, siege-related things, I would aim for like the 70 to 85 range in that. So the number 2 spot for me is this unit, which I think a lot of people are going to be like, wait, this unit really? Yes, Poseidon. I think Poseidon is one of the strongest units out there that ignores elements, that pretty much does a lot of damage, is maybe not as good in all dungeons, but it is very good in like a lot of different things. So maybe not that good in RTA, I would say. Dungeon, he's still pretty fine. So we have the skills. S1, just throwbacks, like a few debuffs, not that interesting. S2, AoE silence, 2 turns, not that interesting either. But the S3, Mail Storms, which cannot be glanced, does damage according to speed, and pushes back the attack bar, plus gives an AoE slow. This thing just does everything. And this is probably, currently in meta, the best arena offense unit there is. It is, I'm pretty sure actually, yes, it's the best arena offense unit in the game, including all LD5s, everything. It is a very good siege unit. Sure that you need some setup, you need a galleon and that kind of stuff, but there's other ways you can work with that. It's maybe not the best unit for the Giant Speed 12. It is still very good in like TOA or anything like that, and it's pretty usable in RTA as well. It is somewhat more squishy on that side, but I would say Poseidon, because he's that strong in arena offense right now, I rate him higher than the Cheongpung. So builds for Poseidon, I would say speed, crit damage, attack. In all cases, maybe speed, crit rate, attack. I would aim for the accuracy to be 85 on the 3rd skill. So that means, let's say you have 70 accuracy and 15 accuracy from the skill 3 artifact on accuracy S3, then that's perfectly fine. If you're using it somewhere at like more beginner-ish stage, I would aim for at least like 35, 45-ish. And to have a good, and you have to have good crit rate. Because if you run it speed, crit damage, attack, but you have like what, 30 crit rate, your crit damage is pretty much like 1/3 of the worth that it should be. If you have 100% crit rate, it's like a full worth. If you have like 50% crit rate, it's like half worth. So therefore I would aim to max out the accuracy, max out the crit rate. Could be a little bit difficult, but the builds could be like Swift, could be Blades, could be Fado, could be Rage even. Wouldn't really recommend to go Vio on this one, but it is an option as well. So then the final unit, which I would rate as number 1 unit of 1 to have when you're like either beginner or mid-game player, is, I think a lot of people could have guessed it, is Savannah. Savannah is insanely good in like pretty much so many things. The thing that tops it off compared to like most of the other units, they were good in like offense stuff, they were good in some dungeons, they were good in PvE, they were good in TOA, they're good in RTA, but they were not good on defense. Savannah is also good on defense. Siege defense is fine, Guild War defense is fine, Arena defense it's fine. So Savannah is a lot more versatile than any of these other 4 units were just mentioned. It still can be used in Arena offense, it can be used in Siege offense, RTA, PvE dungeons, anything. So Savannah is by far, I would say, still the strongest unit a early game player could have. So we have the S1, which is just an attack and it slows, not that interesting. S2, which is a single target strip that does more damage if it strips more. And then we have the skill 3, which makes this unit very good. AoE pushback, AoE armor break, and giving AoE speed buff to your whole team, which is just a very strong versatile skill that works in so many good places. For build, she is slightly difficult to rune because her awakening is going into resistance, which are stats you don't really need. But I think she would also be a little bit too OP if she would go just crit rate or accuracy. So the focus would be still going like 35 to 45 on the accuracy. Going higher than that is good, but it's very difficult to get there. If you go speed, crit damage, attack, speed, crit damage, attack does mean once again that you have to have high crit rate, aim for at least like the 70 to 85, maybe even 100. I think 70 to 85 is a good range if you go crit damage on the slot 4. But you could also simply say, because her S3 does armor break if your attack is higher than their defense. So you could actually go speed, attack, attack, which is a very fine build. Or you go speed, attack, accuracy to fix the accuracy that way. But you have to check that she still does enough damage and doesn't just become a support unit. But yes, she's slightly difficult to rune, but she is a very strong unit. Builds I would go for are, of course, speed, crit damage, attack, or speed, crit rate, attack. Speed, attack, accuracy is also fine. Speed, attack, attack is also fine. On the builds, either Swift. Despair is possible, but would really not recommend it too much. I would say Swift or Vio would be the best cases. I probably want to go for Will if you don't have enough Wills or it's too difficult to get good stats. Blade is an option. Fatal is a good option, or anything that you just have a broken set. So that is my recommendation of top 5 best units to get for a beginner or mid-game player in Summoners War. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with any of those, or you would say like, okay, these and these are good, but I would recommend this and this one in there and this spot. Let me know that in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.